All right, friends, when we're constructing these out of clay, you each need to start with 2 different stencils. One is for the house itself and one is for the base. And I'd like you to make sure they both fit onto your slab or flat piece of clay. Then you're going to go ahead and use this knife to cut around your house. I'm holding the stencil in place with one hand, my non-dominant hand, my left hand in my case, and I'm using the knife to carefully cut through. It doesn't help to use choppy motions. It's one slice through the clay. Now I have my house itself, and you'll notice that I'm working on this mat. If I were to do that on the table, my clay would stick to the table. Now this is going to wind up being the base of our luminary. A luminary is something that you put a candle or a light inside of, and we'll have little holes in our houses, doors and windows, for that light to shine through. All right, so here is the base of mine. I'm gonna set that to the side. I have some extra clay here. I'm gonna save this in case I want to add some details to my house. Now I'm going back to this house shape, and I'm gonna start by cutting out my door. I'm just taking my knife tool and I'm making a little cut and another little cut right at the bottom, and then I'm cutting across. Now I have a door and I can save that piece. Maybe I'll need that clay later. I'm gonna use the same technique to cut out the windows. I'm gonna cut a little line, a little line, a little line, and a little line. Now, I would like my house to look as much like my sketch as possible. Sometimes when I'm working in clay, things happen and I realize it won't really work in the medium or the material that I'm using. So it's okay to make little changes. You can see, for example, my windows are a little bit different sized because it's a lot harder to cut these designs in clay than it is to draw it with a pencil. And I'm just gonna be okay with that. I'm not gonna stress out about it. It's not a big deal. Now I'm going to use a tool to incise or draw into my clay. You want anything that has a point, and we're literally just going to use that tool to carve designs. I made that pattern along my roof to show the shingles. I made those implied designs, those rectangles, to show the texture of my house or how it feels. Now I think I'm going to add some designs on top using the score and slip method. I told you that I wanted to have little window boxes. So I'm going to roll a coil. A coil is a fancy art way of saying a worm. Then I'm gonna smush it a little bit with my finger. It looks like a line. I'm gonna lay it down here to get the right size and pinch it off. Now when I attach clay, I need to use something called a score and slip method. That just means that I take a wet toothbrush and I scratch where I want it to go, and then I scratch the piece I'm attaching, and then I press. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side here, where I'm just going to put it down for size, scratch, scratch, attach. I think I'm gonna add some extra designs, something called shutters. Shutters, you'll notice on some houses, they are on either side of the windows. So I'm doing that same thing where I made a coil and I smushed it. Now I'm gonna cut a little angle like this and like that. And do you know what a shutter is now? They're typically used in places where there are actually hurricanes to shut the windows to keep the windows from breaking. But we see a lot of them around here just for decoration. So again, I need to score and slip where I add that water with the toothbrush. Score, slip, and stick. Then I'll quickly just make 2 more shutters, and I will show you how we're gonna turn this into a luminary, something that we can put a candle or a light into. The more detail you can add on this step, the better your house is going to look, the more unique it's going to be. All right, when you get to this point, I would like you to raise your hand because this is kind of a tricky step, so I'll help you do this step. I have a piece that I've cut for you. It's a nice long piece, and it's going to be the back of our luminary. So to start, what we're gonna do is score around the base, just around the outside line. Then I'm gonna take that house right here, I'm gonna set it on, and then I'm going to set this the opposite way. Now again, I'm gonna help you with this. There is no need to stress or worry about this step, because I'm literally going to come to your table and do it with you. Because it's a little tricky. Your clay can kind of break during this step if you're not really careful. I'm gonna hold it up for you to see from this angle. So I'm gonna smooth it. And then I'm gonna go around the base here and smooth it. Now what's gonna happen is, we'll put this into the kiln and it's going to get hard. And it has this little opening in the middle. You can put a little lantern or light into that opening and turn this into a beautiful luminary at your house. You guys did an awesome job. I can't wait for you to see your finished luminaries.